In our very first story, the limited registration of voters by the Electoral Commission took off on Thursday, with many of the centres said to have recorded very low turnout. The EC is hoping to register some 1.2 million first-timers at 3,000 polling stations across the country between Thursday and May 8, when the exercise is brought to a close. The low turnout has been blamed on the low publicity given the exercise. Several prospective voters were also turned away from the centres because they did not have what was required of them, such as their passports and driver's licenses, or 2 registered voters to guarantee for them. Here in Accra, Joy News' Ekosan was taken through the process at Accra Polytechnic.
Couple of tables here. Can you please walk me through the process? There's one table to my right, there's another one here, and then yourself, and it looks like that is the exit point. What really are the processes you have to go through to register as a voter? And would you also get your ID card once you are done today?
Yeah, what we have is the first person to attend to is the registration officer. Then from there you go to the data entry officer, who is going to enter your biodata, and also to the laminator who is going to issue you your ID card. That's all.
Okay, and then after that you can get your ID card, and then you become a valid voter, so that you can vote for whoever you want to vote for come election 2016. It looks like the numbers are not that encouraging. You don't have a lot of people coming here this morning, right?
Yeah, as at now, nobody has come, and we are expecting them. Maybe today is the first day, so probably that is how it is going to be.
All right, let's get on to the phone lines now and speak to our correspondents across the country on details about the exercise. We start from the Eastern region with correspondent Edwin Kofi Sian. Good evening to you, Edwin.
Good evening, Israel.
All right, so how was the exercise in the places you visited?
Well, Israel, I should say it started around 7 a.m., exactly as, said by the Electoral Commission. The turnout, I must say, was very, very low right from the start to 5 p.m. when the registration ended. And, right from the morning, the process has been very, very peaceful. From where I started my monitoring from Koforidua to the Kwahu areas, then back to Koforidua. In Koforidua and the other towns, the process was very, very peaceful and very smooth. We didn't encounter any, anything that hampered the process. In Kwahu, where I went to in the afternoon, there were some skirmishes and misunderstandings between the main political parties, that is the NPP and the NDC. The NDC in Impraiso were accusing the NPP of, keeping some minors, people they claim to be minors, in homes close to some of these registration centers. So the NDC said they're not going to allow them, they're going to resist the attempt by these minors to have their names on the roll. And they did exactly that, and that was done in a very violent way, I should say. So the police had to come in, and the EC officials had to also intervene to ensure that they allow those people to, have their names on the roll. Because according to the EC, no one has the right to physically stop anybody from registering. They can only do so by filling the challenge form. So apart from what happened with regards to, people preventing the other people from having their names on the roll, one other factor too that wasn't that encouraging was the fact that people did not come out to vote to register as expected. The turnout was very, very low. In some of these registration centers, you had 9 people registering. The highest I have on my sheet now is about 23, people registering in one of these registration centers. The lowest was 6 in a registration center in Koforidua.
All right, thank you very much. Correspondent Edwin Kofi joining us from the Eastern region. Now, the Sawase constituency of the NDC says it will resist attempts by any group to bus people in and out of the area during the limited voter registration exercise. Member of Parliament for Sawase, Muntaka Mubarak Muhammad, says the party has obtained information to that effect and called on NDC supporters to be vigilant to ensure only qualified people from the constituency register. Alhaji Muntaka also warns the NDC will challenge the registration of anyone bused to the area.
Rumor goes with politics, but let me take the opportunity to just sound a caution so that that rumor doesn't turn itself into reality. Or it is something that we will resist. Who are making efforts to mention to the police, this is what we are hearing. We are going to be very vigilant because we are never going to allow anybody, for whatever reason, to think that you can just bus people from one end into our place. That's why the country is marked into constituencies. People, for you to even qualify to be a member of parliament, you should have stayed in that place for some number of years. It is for a reason. So for you to just think that you want to move people around, I think it's an illegal thing, and we will do everything to ensure that that doesn't happen. Because if you ask me who are my greatest suspects, I would say my biggest opponent are the two main political parties. I'm also saying, let's take this opportunity to also say the same to even people who belongs to my party, who may also think they may want to bus people from one end to another for a particular reason. It is not a useful exercise. It's not a good thing to do, because we will all then be encouraging lawlessness, and I don't think that is right.
All right, we're also going to the Volta region where Ivy Setoji, she's joining us on with how the process went there in their region. We do not have Ivy on the phone at the moment, but we're getting some other reports from the region. The Volta region branch of the New Patriotic Party is accusing the National Democratic Congress of handing out freebies to residents of Togo living in communities along the Ghana-Togo border to entice them to come register in the ongoing limited registration exercise. Amongst the items the NPP says are being distributed include machetes, Wellington boots, buckets and basins. The Volta Regional NPP Chairman John Peter Amewu disclosed it at a news conference on Thursday in the Volta Regional Capital Hall.
In essence, Madam Ativo called on the people of Volta region
All right, we will bring you that story later, but we have Ivy on the line now, and so she's going to be telling us about how the process went there in the Volta region. Good evening to you, Ivy. Were there any particular challenges with the process in the Volta region?
Yes, in Anglo Senior High School, that's in the Keta municipality in Angoga, some boarders, specifically boarders, were asked to bring their guarantors. These people cannot bring their guarantors because their parents and guardians stay in Accra. Okay, so that was a little problem for these people. They were disappointed because they didn't get anyone to guarantee for them. Maybe they have to go all the way to Accra and bring their parents to be their guarantors. And also in Alakle, in the Anglo constituency, so in the Kesa municipality, there was no registration today because the machines were not working, and so people were not able to register for today. But the electoral for the EC officials are hoping that tomorrow everything will go back to normal so that people in that area can register. And there was also the issue of young people walking all the way from villages to Alakle and other villages just to register, or only for them to be sent out because of guarantors. So these are some of the issues, coupled with heavy rain, about 5 hours rain that disrupted the whole proceeding. But aside that, everything went out smoothly. Also, there was also low turnout.
All right. Okay, thank you very much, Ivy Setoji, joining us from the Volta region with how the process went there. Now, the presidential candidate of the Convention People's Party, Ivor Greenstreet, is warning cross-border immigration will affect the credibility of the limited voter registration exercise. His comments come amidst fears and allegations of political parties busing people from neighboring Togo and Cote d'Ivoire. Speaking in an interview with Joy News' Francis Abang, Mr. Greenstreet says the security agencies, the EC and the CPP will ensure the register is not compromised.
We have our agents at all the polling stations, nationwide. There's some areas we haven't been able to cover, but I think about 75% to 80% we have at all polling stations nationwide. And we're comfortable so far with how the process has been outlined, and the challenges and problems will come in the execution and what happens on a day-to-day basis, which is what we're going to see taking place now, certainly in things of, especially cross-border activities, people coming, aliens coming to try and register, minors to come and register. Those are the key issues.
The cross-border issues, does it worry you?
It does, yes.
Why?
Because, it's a technique of candidates or those who have the capacity in constituencies all along our very porous borders from the south to the north to bring people from across the border to come and register. And so they do that obviously to try and favor them at any potential future election. And our borders in actual fact are artificial. So many of these people across the border are even Ghanaians, or certainly they look like Ghanaians. And so what I think we have to do is really be serious about this national database, which we continuously seem to not be interested in, and I don't know why as a nation we are determined not to have data on each of our citizens nationwide and use that for planning purposes, use that for election purposes, use that for so many other purposes which any normal enterprise, if you can call a nation or a government an enterprise, would do. You need to know who your citizens are and who you're supposed to serve, and their ages and their genders and their problems. Well, I think that we always made our position clear that we felt a new register was going to be very problematic in view of the expense, in view of the timing, and in view of the fact that you're not guaranteed to even solve the problems that this current register has. So, EC has done some cleaning of the register. They did that sometime last year. They cleaned out some, I think some 200,000 names. And so we are expecting that process to continue. And we're expecting to see how we can, as much as possible, do what cleaning we can of the register. But as people have regularly said, dead people don't vote, so you don't ordinarily want to be worried about, and since it's now biometric, you're not going to have a problem. But, any sensible organized institution would not want, thousands or hundreds of thousands of unnecessary names on a register. So we're ready to be part of a process to take the necessary steps to have it cleaned up.
All right, staying with the limited voter registration exercise, we're going to the Ashanti region and to Erastus Asare Donko, who has been monitoring the process there for us. Good evening to you, Erastus. What more can you tell us about the claims of the Asawase MP? Earlier on, he was speaking about people busing people into the constituency. What more can you tell us about that?
Well, Israel, I must say that, those claims went both ways. And so I think many of the politicians were quite vigilant. And you could see that there are parliamentary candidates, there are political party executives going around checking if everything is okay at the various centers. I must say there was nothing like busing people around, right, or bringing in people to exercise that particular process. And so it went peacefully, with the exception of some few challenges, especially at Patase, just close to the police depot, where one particular applicant was challenged by an NDC executive or agent. The fact was that he brought in some guarantors. The NDC guy did not understand. He had to go back to his school to bring in the birth certificate, which indicated that he was 19. Yes, so the NDC agent did not agree to that. And so they have to confiscate his party card, the registration card, the one that he has just been printed out. And they have to set a date to sit on that particular case. It created quite a lot of tension in that particular registration center. That was the only case that I would say brought in a little bit of controversy. Aside that, it was a peaceful exercise in the Ashanti region.
All right, thank you very much, Erastus Asare Donko. Now, the Electoral Commission has released a statement on the ongoing exercise, which I'd like to share with you, and it's on the website of the Electoral Commission, and it says the limited biometric voter registration exercise commenced on Thursday, 28 April, and ends on Sunday, 8th May 2016. So the Electoral Commission takes the opportunity to reiterate to the general public that the limited registration is for members of the public who have not previously registered, and it's very important that this statement is put out there. For registered voters who have misplaced their cards, the Commission has put arrangements in place for replacement of lost voter ID cards in all district offices nationwide. And it goes on to say that applicants will be required to pay a replacement fee of 5 Ghana cedis into the Commission's bank account and take the deposit slip to the district office of the Commission where they registered for spot printing and collection of the new ID cards. The fee may be paid at any branch of GCB Bank nationwide, and it gives the bank details right here on their website. So the issue, or what the EC wants to go out there is that if you've lost your voter ID card, this registration exercise is not for you. You should make efforts to get a replacement of your voter ID cards. It's going to cost you 5 cedis, which they're asking you to pay into a particular bank account. Moving on to other stories, the leader of the All People's Congress, Atani Delali, has described as needless plans by the Ghana Police Service to impose bodyguards on the presidential candidates of the various political parties. He says the move is indicative the police has lost focus of its core mandate to protect the citizenry. Atani Delali was addressing a news conference to outdoor his party's final certificate from the Electoral Commission.
The chairman and leader of the All People's Congress, reacting to several issues on the political front, says the institutions mandated to sensitize Ghanaians who have turned 18 on the limited voter registration exercise are not doing their work. This, he says, has created an avenue for some political parties to mobilize people for the exercise.
We don't believe in institutions, we believe in human powers. And that is not what we should be looking at. If our institutions are to work, there is no need of political parties bringing people there. That means that the law is that if you are 18 and above, you go and vote. It doesn't mean that if you are 18 and you don't want to go there, the political party should come and force you there. No, that's not the duty of political parties. And that is why we have chaos in the system. Because the NDC and the MPP think that they have 5 million voters. So if in 2016 they vote and don't get the 5 million voters, it's a problem. The vote has been reached. Don't you think so? Nobody has the right to say, I have 5 million. Even your wife, if you don't convince her enough, she won't vote for you.
Atani Delali, touching on the police call for political parties to select officers from the force to protect presidential candidates and their running mates, said the move is needless. He explained that the candidates can provide their own security just like he does, advising the police service to rethink the proposal.
Police who are supposed to give us security are asking us to bring members of our party so that they will give us security. What is the purpose of the police? Why? What is the purpose of the police? You are supposed to make sure that law and order is given to our people. Now you, the police, you are telling the political parties to bring in people to protect them so that we can cause havoc in this country. And you sit and watch. I don't need the police to tell me to bring people to come and protect me. I believe in Ghana, and I think Ghana is a peaceful country, and I am preaching peace, and I don't need police security. So the police should rethink again whether we need that. And that is why you see most political parties have tanks. Some call themselves bulldogs or what? Some call themselves Bolga dogs. Some call Azoka dogs. How can human beings become dogs?
Mr. Ayariga is also claiming that his party is the only one to have met all the requirements set by the EC ahead of the November 7 polls, including submitting APC's audited accounts. George Yosin-Vinier for Joy News.
Now, the Volta Region branch of the New Patriotic Party is accusing the National Democratic Congress of handing out freebies to residents of Togo living in communities along the Ghana-Togo border to entice them to come register in their ongoing limited registration exercise. Amongst the items the NPP says are being distributed include machetes, Wellington boots, buckets and basins. The Volta Regional NPP Chairman John Peter Amewu disclosed it at a news conference on Thursday in the Volta Regional Capitol Hall.
We appeal to our brothers and sisters to be law-abiding in this upcoming limited registration period. We encourage only those who are qualified under C91, C191, CI91, to take part in this limited registration. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, we as an NPP are never and under no occasion are we saying that Ghanaians living in Togo are not supposed to come and register. There are clear evidences that there are Ghanaians who, for the purpose of their job description, might send them to live and work in Togo. Those Ghanaians have every right to register and vote in Ghana. But as long as the Ghanaians by birth have no mandate to go and determine who become a president in the Republic of Togo, we will also not be happy and not allow any Togolese nationals to come and determine who become a president in the Republic of Ghana. That is our point. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, another sad insult to the intelligence and integrity of the people of Volta region, which we need to be exposed, is the fact that the NDC continue to spend huge sums of money and resources on people coming from neighboring Republic of Togo to come and register and vote for the NDC during the election.
You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break, but we have more stories coming up thereafter. Please don't go away. Now, social media, though a critical medium of communication, has quickly become an effective tool for the circulation of fabricated stories. Many have been misinformed after relying on such untruths they consumed on such social media platforms. To check the phenomenon, the Ministry of Communication says it is drafting guidelines to minimize the negative effects of social media use. Deputy Communications Minister Atani Delali Emmanuel, who was speaking on the sidelines of the 3rd Annual Psychology Conference in Accra, says the guidelines will be ready by the 3rd quarter of 2016.
The phenomenon of fabricated stories channeled through social media has in recent times proven quite problematic. From the propagation of spurious and damaging claims to the announcement of false storm alerts, many of these stories have been misleading for the people who rely on them. The immediate past chairman of the Electoral Commission was recently rumored to have died, only for him to deny the claims in a radio interview. Though Deputy Communications Minister Atani Delali Emmanuel says the phenomenon cannot be regulated, he says some efforts could be made to minimize its negative impact.
And as government, we believe that it's a very important tool. It's a very important tool for communicating. It's an important tool for business. It's an important tool for social development. It's an important tool for economic growth. So it's a tool that we embrace, and it's something that we support. And so what we'll do is to provide some guidelines on how we use it so that it will benefit all of us. So we've started working on something. It's not advanced yet. We are hoping to get other parties to provide input, yourselves, media. We are looking at something in the 3rd quarter of the year. So that's a period beginning July to September. We should start some discussions on the draft that we have done around that time. And I'm hoping that when the discussions open, all parties will bring input to bear on something that we believe should guide us on how we use social media.
The use of social media and its effects on the individual, institutions, and the society at large was a topical issue at the psychology conference. Vice Dean of the School of Graduate Studies, Professor Ahmad de Graft-Akins, in a presentation, touched on the use of social media and its mental health implication for users.
So can intimate, we haven't done any systematic studies yet, but we can certainly predict that there will be mental health implications. The burden in Ghana, 13% are likely to be, intensified, right, by our engagements in the virtual world. So there are a few things I think we could think about. We've got future researchers to look at prevalence of social media use, I think. There's got to be some demographic studies on this. We need to understand the types of use across social categories. Right?
Some of the fabricated stories circulated on social media have sometimes been falsely attributed to traditional media houses. ManjoraOnline.com has had reason to disclaim some of these stories. Chairman of the National Media Commission, Kwesi Jana Penton, says media houses have a critical role to play in that space.
The same should happen. The fact that something has appeared on social media does not automatically mean that it has been verified, for example. So all I'm saying is that the onus is on us as journalists to make sure that whatever we are publishing, we have satisfied ourselves that it is what we want to publish.
The third annual psychology conference was themed Social Media in Contemporary Societies, Effect on the Family, Organizations, Schools and Politics.
I'll start by talking about...
We're taking a break. When we come back, we'll bring you business news. All right, in business tonight, we're told that the Jubilee crude production in the Jubilee fields could be coming up sometime next week. Or is that accurate?
I told you about it yesterday, but it seemed not to have or to see eye to eye with me.
Well, they
mentioned that's some good news.
Well, possibly.
Yes.
Yeah, we're all hopeful that
yes, it's true,
production would resume.
It's true, though. But, you know, when companies like this on the international scene make announcements to shareholders, then there's some element of truthfulness in that.
Well, yeah, but I'm not too sure about the possibly bits that they added, which means that it's possible it may not happen next week.
It means that anything could happen, though.
Yes.
All right, you're right.
Okay. I mean, but...
let's hope so.
Yeah, let's hope for the best.
Yes.
All right, you take it away.
All right, thanks for being with me on the business. And Tullow Oil has announced that it will resume crude production on the Jubilee field possibly by next week. The Chief Operating Officer of Tullow Oil, Paul McDade, disclosed this to the media after his annual general meeting in London today. He, however, adds that the resumption was subject to a new operating procedure running smoothly. This Business Desk report highlights the impact of this announcement on the country's energy sector.
The announcement will come as big relief for government and the power companies. This is because the shutdown of the Jubilee FPSO for more than 2 weeks now has increased government's import bill for crude oil, affected the ability of power companies to produce enough power for consumers, a situation which could have resulted in some load shedding in the country. The situation has also affected the royalties and taxes that government was supposed to have gotten from the field if it was in operation. According to Tullow, a project team has been established to review the root cause of the breakdown of the bearing on the FPSO to determine a permanent solution to the Jubilee turret issue.
So that was a Business Desk report. In a related development, Tullow has announced in a statement to shareholders that it has cut its expenditure by almost $100 million to $1 billion and is planning to further cut down in the coming months. The move is part of Tullow's plan to adjust its balance sheet to cope with recent drop in oil prices. It is, however, not clear for now whether this might affect Tullow's operations in Ghana. Now, economist Dr. Eric Osei-Sibe has attributed the improved performance during the last quarter of 2015 to some stability of the cedi as well as an improvement in the energy situation. The Ghana Statistical Service yesterday announced a marginal reduction in the 2015 economic growth rate relative to the previous year, 2014, a situation blamed on a slowdown in the agri sector. There was, however, some improvement in the economy during the last quarter of 2015. Dr. Eric Asibe was speaking on the marketplace on Joy News.
In the last quarter of the year, in the last quarter, that is from October to December, economic activities, in all the areas actually picked up a lot. The manufacturing, agriculture, and all that, because of the festivities that often happen in that particular quarter. And so it wasn't too surprising. And if you also could recall, during the last quarter, the CD began to gain some strength, and so there was some relative stability. There was also some stability with regard to the energy situation. It improved quite significantly, and therefore I'm sure all of that came to play in getting the improved result. But for the last quarter, if you look at the last quarter, but if you combine the average for the year, it was still not too good compared to the previous year.
Meanwhile, the agri sector is gradually consolidating its position as the second biggest contributor to the country's economic growth. The sector, which used to be the largest contributor, lost out to services and industry sector. So could the latest numbers confirm that agri is now on that path to recovery? Here's some analysis in this report.
This is the second time running that the agricultural sector has recorded such strong growth, as well as having a good share in terms of contribution, beating the industrial sector to the third position. The development could mean that activities in the sector have indeed picked up, and this could force government to change its policies towards the sector, and also a possible change in the way financial institutions lend to the agri sector. The sector's performance was so strong that just a marginal decline resulted in a slowdown in the overall GDP estimates to 3.9%. However, some analysts have argued that agri is just doing well because industry is still struggling from the recent energy crisis.
Now, the IMF has begun its much-awaited third review of Ghana's performance under the bailout program, with a focus on cross-checking the country's economic data. The mission yesterday met officials of the Bank of Ghana, Finance Ministry, and the Ghana Statistical Service. The economic data review is seen as crucial to establishing the true position on the country's debt and fiscal position. Meanwhile, some civil society groups on the IMF program say they want more scrutiny on the country's debt position by the mission. Joe Winfield is the convener of the civil society groups on the IMF program.
You know, we got into this situation because of what we call fiscal indiscipline, So the objective will be, how do we ensure that we have fiscal discipline, at the same time? And I think that is going to take some time. And it will take the effort of all Ghanaians, who will back. Civil society will be, pushing as much as possible. It's not been easy trying to engage the government because, as you are aware, a lot of government agencies will be reluctant to, engage civil society because they will think that it's a political wing of this and so on and so forth, and forgetting that civil society is just a representation of the population that wants to come in and help with the nation building.
Now, internet service provider Busy has introduced a new mobile app for Android services to its corporate clients, known as My Busy 4G app. It comes just 3 months after the internet service provider rebranded and launched its 4G service.
The app, My Busy 4G, according to Busy, is aimed at enhancing customer experience for all Busy 4G users and allow them enjoy self-service at all times. Speaking to Joy Business after the launch of the app in Accra, Head of Marketing at Busy, Linda Na, said the mobile app was to provide convenience, easy access and speedy response to the needs of customers.
This platform basically, once they have it, whoever is managing their Busy account can log in with the details we provided when they latched onto our network. And so they have the username and the password. They log on there. It takes them onto the user interface, and they have the opportunity to do everything they need to do. Because for some of these corporate clients, especially for SMEs and what we call SOHUs for small businesses, they have the indoor router, some have the MiFi, and then they also have their corporate executives or employees who are also using our MiFi. And so for the individual employees who also get, what we call the corporate line, postpaid, but there's a data package they can use or allocated to them in a month. Some do run out before the end of the month, and so they can top up. This is what we call a hybrid platform.
Time now to take a look at the stock market, and John has joined me here to give us the details. John, good evening.
Good evening, Emmanuel.
What's the update on the market?
Exactly, the market is gradually recovering after it's recorded about 71,578 in terms of volume. After that heavy wins last 2 days, it's actually not been back yet. That was a very big trade there, but then today recorded that at a value of about 98,420. So, but then there was some upward adjustment to do with the market capitalization. Now it brought it up just slightly to about 54,434,091 million. So that's exactly how it is. But then was able to actually reduce the CI to 8.28. That's still insignificant if you ask me. But then the FI is still almost about 10.95. As I said, it was around 11.0 something. So I think basically it's actually doing well. But these were the two equities that really moved the market. Societe Generale actually added 1 peso to investors' capital to close the market around 77 pesos. And then also Benzo Oil Palm Plantation lost 2 pesos and then closed the market around 3 Ghana cedis, 10 pesos to their investors. That's how it is. So these were the two equities that really moved the market. But check it. Yesterday I told you by the time we come today, oil would hit 48. Now it is 48.
And we're gradually drifting to the $50 mark.
We are getting there, okay? And there's still a lot of demand for the commodity oil. So we are gradually seeing. Now, again, almost about 90 cents. Now it's about $48.08. As of now, we have almost about 4 or 3 hours to go in the American Mercantile Exchange. So I'm very sure by the time we get it, it could go up. It could go up. Today, tomorrow, just expect oil to actually be increasing. Gold also gained $18.54 to actually be trading around 1,264. That's also moving up as usual. Anytime China's economy start moving up, don't forget the likes of India also start moving. When India moves, gold moves. These are some of the things that we actually do. And cocoa did lose some dollars in there. So I think that's exactly what it is. But then with the currency, still the US dollar is still not actually finding any feet against the CD. The CD keeps scoring the United States dollar. But then British pound still finding it difficult. Euro finding it difficult. Chinese yuan today has joined the weakened currency against the CD. Usually, I think since Monday, the city have had some positive side to it, but today the city lost to the Chinese one. But of course, it's still not doing well against the CFA. Is doing well against the city. So that's exactly what is actually happening on the currency front. So that's how the market is. Quite a midline market. No, you can't say it's bearish, but it's not bullish either. It's quite hanging in there. So let's see if what tomorrow, Friday, brings as we close the market. Exactly, Emmanuel.
All right, thank you very much, John Kojo Amarkon. John Amarkon is the stock market analyst. He ends tonight's business with me, Emmanuel Apwaji. More news coming up. Don't go away yet.
Welcome back to Joy News Prime. The National Chief Imam, Sheikh Usman Nuhu Shaributu, has charged the CEO of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital to settle differences between management and staff. That, according to the National Chief Imam, is the only way the facility can be well positioned to deliver its core mandate of quality health care to clients. The Chief Imam made this call when he donated an ambulance to the facility on behalf of the Muslim community in Ghana.
The Kolebu Teaching Hospital has in recent times been embroiled in one controversy or another. The rift between management and senior staff has resulted in the dismissal of President of the Senior Staff Association, Charles Ofe Palm. The confusion at the facility, according to the National Chief Imam, is not conducive for quality healthcare delivery. Donating an ambulance to the hospital, he seized the opportunity to register his displeasure about the power struggle at the facility.
On daily basis,
there are problems in Korle, and he wants you to stamp your authority to bring it to an end. Everybody in this hospital for today is your child. You must cater for the children, and children must also know that they have a father and they should respect the father.
The Chief Executive Officer of Korle, Dr. Gilbert Buckle, who is accused of mismanagement by some staff, described the Chief Imam's gesture as an honor to the hospital and promised to put the vehicle into good use.
His prayers alone were sufficient, but for him to also come practically and say take and use it to help the hospital is a big honor that he has done us all.
He also promised to adopt good maintenance culture to always keep the ambulance in good shape.
The Executive Director of the Institute of Public Health, Dr. Frank Bading, is worried about the wasteful consumption of anti-malarial medicines in the country. He explained the phenomenon of prescribing anti-malarial medicines without testing is on the increase at pharmaceutical and chemical shops as well as health facilities due to the unavailability of malarial rapid diagnostic test kits. Dr. Frank Bading was speaking at a day sensitization workshop on malaria for journalists in the Volta region in the Capitol Hall.
The workshop, which was organized by a non-governmental organization, African Media and Malaria Research Network, AMREN, was to equip journalists with the requisite knowledge to spearhead the fight to eliminate malaria in Ghana. AMREN believes that though recorded cases of malaria have declined nationwide, it is relevant for media outlets to use their medium to continuously educate the Ghanaian populace on the preventive measures, symptoms and treatment of malaria. Given a presentation on the Global Technical Strategy for Malaria 2016 to 2030 at the workshop, Dr. Bading appealed to the National Malaria Control Program, government and other NGOs to make malaria rapid diagnostic test kits, RDT, available in health facilities and pharmaceutical shops just like condoms. He, however, stressed that health practitioners should confirm reported fever cases by testing before concluding it is malaria.
If malaria is on the decline, then it is not good to assume that somebody presenting with fever has got malaria. So it is important that health workers and the general public be aware of this, that as we, in today's Ghana, malaria is not the commonest cause of fever. And therefore, equating fever to malaria is not good, and we need to put an end to that.
He stated that some parts of Southeast Asia have recorded resistance of artesunate and fears that the wasteful use of anti-malarial medicine in Ghana will increase the risk of its resistance.
Of fever, and then all that we think about is malaria. And at this point in time, it goes for the general public, it goes for health practitioners, it goes for everybody. Thank you. That this is a message that's very important. And also what we do is that we waste expensive anti-malarials by giving it when it's not needed.
Executive Director of AMREN, Charity Binka, underscored the need for the media to champion the fight against malaria campaign to bring malaria cases to zero in the country.
The malaria war can only be won if communication is strengthened between health professionals and journalists to ensure that the public understand the current state of malaria interventions. That is why AMREN is excited about the partnership with the Volta Regional Hospital and by extension the Ghana Health Service. It is my fervent hope that the journalists present here will take advantage of the opportunity to establish contacts with the health experts and work closely with them to reduce the disease burden in our communities.
The Volta Regional Focal Person on Malaria, Dr. Roland Glover, says though recorded malaria cases have declined, the region falls short of adequate logistics and technical staff at CHIP zones. Fred Kwame Asari's report.
Up next, we bring you international news. Now, government will soon set up a cashew development board to regulate the cashew industry. President John Mahama, who announced this at a Deborah of Chiefs and People of Techimang on the second day of his working visit to the Brong-Ahafo region, said the move is informed by discussions held with industry players. The president described cashew as an emerging cash crop which needed commitment and attention so it can become a major revenue earner. Nestor Kafuejoma filed this report from the Brong-Ahafo region.
What we'll be doing to help in protecting cashew farming, as we have done for cocoa farmers, we intend bringing cashew development board which will help address this issue. We will be giving out some seedlings for free to help boost cocoa growing in the region.
President Mahama further announced that a new Techimang water system is being designed to serve the growing population of the area. Paramount Chief of Techimang Traditional Area, Osiadeyo Ekumfiameo, praised government for the infrastructural expansion works on roads, health, education, as well as the Techimang market. He stressed that all the development projects serve as evidence for those who disagree with him. Osiadeyo Ekumfiameo charged President Mahama to direct the local authority at Ofenso North in the Ashanti region to halt trading activities along the Techimang-Kumasi Highway at Abufu.
Our roads are in a very poor state, and that can cause accidents and would affect the users of these roads. I plead that you draw the attention of your DCE and the ministry to fix it for us.
The president also commissioned a 12-unit classroom block at Techimang Senior High School. He also paid a courtesy call on Nkranzamanhene Okatechie Ajiman Kudum and assured the people of providing the necessary development in the Nkuranza area. Okatechie Ajiman Kudum rated President Mahama's government 95% in terms of development in his area, ahead of any other past president of Ghana. The president later inaugurated an administration block at the Nkuranza Technical Senior High School. Nesta Kafui Ajomes report.
The only survivor in a tragic accident in which 3 students of the Central University died on the spot is said to be in a stable condition, though left with a dislocated hip. 18-year-old Nuhu Iskander was driving the VW Passat Saloon car with registration number ER22814 when it crashed with a tipper truck 300 meters from their campus. The police are meanwhile counting on him to help with investigations, as eyewitnesses have not been forthcoming with information.
A visit by Joy News to the accident unit of Tema General Hospital revealed that the victim is traumatized and yet to come to terms with how he ended up at the hospital. Head of the accident and emergency unit, Ernest Nuf Awinemi, says doctors are doing their best to save Nuhu Iskander.
He had multiple laceration and bruises around the palms, both palms, and he came here unconscious. And we received him to our department. We had a senior doctor who took care of him and requested X-ray to be done because he could not even move any part of the body. When the X-ray shows that he had dislocation of the hip joint, that is the right part of the hip, and treatment was started yesterday immediately. As you see this morning, he's very stable. He's now back to conscious level. He can now communicate with us, but he's still traumatized, as we could see. For at the moment, there are plans to reduce, that is to the dislocation, that is to bring back to its original form the dislocated hip. But the patient is in a very good condition, very stable. There are no plans to transfer him because it can be managed here very well.
Meanwhile, Tema MTTU Commander Chief Superintendent Odrua Menin says the whereabouts of the driver of the tipper truck with registration number GR9697X is still unknown. According to him, investigation is becoming a bit difficult for the police as eyewitnesses are not cooperating. He indicated the statements of the tipper truck driver as well as Nuhu, who was driving the VW saloon car, are critical for the investigation.
The tipper truck driver was also not found on the scene, and it was believed that he has gone to the nearest clinic for treatment. But unfortunately, there was an ambulance. This ambulance service, one came there, but he couldn't pick the dead bodies with the pretense that they don't pick dead bodies, but only injured persons they can carry. So police have to find ways and means to get a car to take the bodies to police hospital morgue. So we call in a patrol car. So you should know the frustration the police went through that night.
Chief Superintendent Udra Menin is urging passengers to be wary of drivers who overspeed so as to avoid fatal accidents.
Even yesterday, during daytime, I was there myself. You see, we go there to prevent some of these things. But our problem is, when we are there, you don't see these things happening. But immediately we leave, then you see it happening. Because in the night also, we have the highway patrols on the road. They also go and come, you see. And when these drivers, they see that the police are on the road, you can get them for the first 10 or 20 minutes, you are there. From there on, you see those people who are passing, when they meet their friends, they give them light, they give them signs that the police are there, so they begin to slow down. Even I like it that way, so that you slow down.
Kwame Yanker's report for Joy News.
Now, the Coalition of Domestic Observers says it is too early to describe as low the turnout in the ongoing limited registration exercise. National Coordinator Albert Hayin has been speaking about the exercise which started today.
WHO has sent in 250 observers to virtually almost all the districts in the country to observe and report. And their preliminary findings for now has been that this morning all the centers opened on time, and the agents were also there, belonging to all the parties, especially the NPP and the NDC had agents throughout. The biometric equipment were also functioning well, largely functioning well in almost all the centers. And then the conduct of the officials was also in line with the CI 91, which is the law which is actually being used for this particular registration. The only problem that has cropped up for now has been the challenge process, where some party agents, especially the NDC and NPP, are seeming to be abusing the process. An example is at the eastern region in the Bodua area, Bodua Primary School, where all the 20 applicants who had come in the morning were challenged by the NDC and the NPP. So it looks like they were outdoing each other. A day into the exercise might be too late for a judgment. Let's see what happens in about 2-3 days' time. If in 2-3 days' time it is still the same, then I'm afraid this might. But you see, Ghanaians are also last-minute people. Sometimes you find that in the last minute you find people running helter-skelter. But if they are not careful, they are doing this exercise for 5 days in a particular electoral area, and they will stop and go to another area, and they will not come back to that first one. So that's where Ghanaians should take notice. Within the first 5 days, it is concentrated in 2 electoral areas in a particular area. When they move, you will not get the chance. So now that they are in your area, is the best time to to go there and do the registration.
Next up, we'll bring you entertainment. That'll be all for the bulletin. Before we go a quick run through our top stories, the limited voter registration exercise has taken off to a slow start at 3,000 centers across the country. Government announces plans to set guidelines for use of social media to minimize its negative impact. Ghanaian economy to heave a sigh of relief as Talo Oil announces resumption of crude oil production from the Jubilee field, possibly by next week. Sole survivor in tragic accident which claimed the lives of 3 students of the Central University College, said to be in stable condition. That's it for the bulletin. For more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Israel. Have a good evening.